Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom Marshall. Today we are going to review A House of Dynamite, a workplace drama rather than a nuclear disaster film that has sorely missed its target. Let's get into it. Okay, so the film A House of Dynamite is directed by Catherine Bigelow, who you may know from films such as Zero Dark 30, as well as The Hurt Locker, which I think are actually better films than this. It also stars Rebecca Ferguson, Idris Elba, Jared Harris, and lots of other actors as well that I can't necessarily remember off the top of my head. I do apologise. It basically centres around an event that has taken place and situated in the White House Situation Room. Basically, a nuclear missile has been launched, by whom they do not know, and it has 20 minutes to reach its destination. And that is how long they have to find out what to do and how to deal with the situation at hand. A lot of back and forth between generals and state officials and Secretary of Defense and spies and all sorts, trying to figure out what has happened and whether or not this is actually a credible threat or not. It's a big question that is asked in the film. Is this an accident, or is this real world situation? Is it a drill? They are completely unsure of how to deal with what is going on. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of video calls, a lot of people on the phone talking to people, a lot of back and forth between multiple different characters. And so you see the storyline play out in multiple different angles. And it's essentially them trying to figure out what to do and how to eliminate the threat of this nuclear missile that is about to destroy a city somewhere in America. Okay, so let me say this going in. I think if you're going to do a film of this type, that you should mainly stick it to one location. I feel that they kind of did them a disservice by branching out into multiple different kinds of storylines, or seeing the same storyline from multiple different perspectives rather. It's much simpler just to hone in and focus it on one location, one set of characters, but mainly focusing on that and just confining it into one space. And I feel that is the better way to go. If you start branching out and seeing what's going on elsewhere, then you start to it just gets overly complicated. A film that came out earlier this year called September 5, which is about ABC's first live sports broadcast of the Olympic Games in 1972. They do this very, very well, where they center all the characters into one location, which is the television center. A House of Dynamite. Basically, in the trailer, they were kind of misleading. Though it was just all set in this one location in the Situation Room, and Rebecca Ferguson as the main character was in fact she only in it for about 15-20 minutes, and then it goes on to the next version of events in different perspective of that same 20 minutes. And so you think she's the main character, you think Idris Elba is going to be the main character as well, but he turns up in the end later on as the president of the US, and it's sort of all over the place, really. I find personally, I didn't have that same fear and dread and edge of your seat sort of atmosphere that I felt watching September 5th, where you had multiple languages. They had the benefit of having the actual footage of the Olympic Games and the broadcast of the day, and really did a good job of melding those two together. Whereas with this, it just seemed like there was no resolve. It was a lot of confusion among the characters and what they were doing, and so it just felt like a jumbled mess, essentially. I mean, don't get me wrong, the acting was great. and they serve their roles very well. Like especially Gabriel Basu's character as the NSA agent, I thought he did a very good job at sort of coordinating the different storylines together. Like he was the guy that sort of molded everything together. I feel Rebecca Ferguson was okay. I have to admit, she does a good sort of superior officer character role very well. However, I did find that every now and then her English accent would come in, and her American accent just wavers every now and then, and so it's just like took me out of it a little bit. But apart from, I'm just nitpicking here, really. But otherwise, it's supposed to be or is sold as this rather grand nuclear apocalyptic sort of disaster movie, whereas in fact it's more like The Office, in my opinion. It just feels like a workplace drama. Just so happens that there's uh, a nuclear missile, and you don't even see like the missile either. You just see, which the visuals are good. Don't get me wrong. Like the way they dress the sets, and the office locations, and is really, really good. And they've got a big screen up on the Situation Room where they have the missile arcing over and gives you that sense of like urgency along with the ticking clock as well. But yeah, I just felt like this film fell flat and didn't give me that sense of fear, and never really sort of like cared for the characters and their morals and just their sense of self. So whereas I got more of that in that film that I saw earlier this year, September 5th, which you can see in, which I'll put a link up here somewhere that you can go and see my review of that film. One of my favourite films of this year, which dealt with the disaster, I think, of the Olympic Games much better. Not quite the same sort of situation, but same type of film, where it's about the situation and about how you deal with that type of situation, the behind the scenes of that, if you will. That's the kind of film I would compare this to. Some people have said it was kind of like Doctor Strangelove and some other films as well. But for me, I feel September 5th is a much better version of this type of film. I mean, let me know what you think, what your favourite sort of disaster film is, and let me know what you think in the comments and chat. But otherwise, I just felt like missed the mark quite badly. Just my opinion. Maybe if I saw it in the cinema, it might have been a bit of a different atmosphere, but watching it at home, I just didn't have that sense of fear and dread that I had from the other film. So yeah, there we go. A House of Dynamite. Let me know what you think, whether you prefer theatrical release or streaming release, and I shall see you in the next video.